constant clicking in the background of your
Oh, I think
house.
it's my fan.
Yeah, it's like, and this is our opening, by the way, to the podcast. We have
Is it?
begun. Yeah, I've started the recording,
Well,
so
I see that,
people are
but
coming into, tuck, 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 and then
that's my lizard.
I'm
That's
calling you
so.
out for it, and this is the intro. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. It is I, your host, Wise Papa Smurf, and with me is Ponderous Sea Lions fan.
Yeah, the very same. No, it wasn't actually my fan. It's I have this lizard face right on the back of my head, and it just goes, and that's what you were hearing there.
Oh man, you should totally whip that out and
Yeah.
all the
Well,
time.
one of these days.
Yeah,
It's a pretty fun
is
ponytail.
that why you grow out your hair so weird? To cover up
Yeah.
your lizard face?
Exactly.
Cool.
You understand.
Cool.
I have
So
to go. I have to go back to my home planet soon.
yeah.
So
So
I might
hey,
be gone for a while.
Double Sniffed, I said we were gonna duo record an episode, and Double Sniff said, "Oh yeah, what are you guys gonna do?" And I said, "I don't know." And he's like, "What are you guys gonna do? A wrestling match?" And I said, "A wrestling match?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah. You just wrestle, and then you do a kimono match. Winner, the first person who loses their kimono." And I'm like, "This seems real triple X, but I like where you're going with the kimono match."
Seems a little gay. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
it seems real gay.
It seems a little gay. Which is, that's fine. I'm not against that. I'm
Right.
just saying it seems a little gay. Just a
Yeah,
little bit.
that was his idea, which is why Double Snipped is not in charge of podcast content. For the
Yeah,
record.
I have to agree.
So
It probably wouldn't be smart.
So we've talked about Worlds endlessly, so we're not gonna do that.
Good,
Congratulations.
because I didn't watch any of the matches.
Yeah, congratulations to our Korean overlords for winning Worlds again. The
Did
one
they do that?
interesting stat that I saw is that since season 3, the team in the final with the more Korean players won. Since season 3.
That's funny.
So
By the way, you're blurry, just so
yeah,
you
I know. My camera's got like all buttery, so I don't know what happened with that. So let's force it to refocus.
It's just trying to protect our eyeballs.
Yeah, it's trying to smoothen out my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And here I am calling attention to it.
yeah, well, either way. I mean, the camera will come around. It always does, most of the time. So this week we are going to talk about solo queue and why I gave up on it, and what exactly we need to do to keep your focus in the last, like, you got about a week left or so. Week, 10 days left. What are you going
How
to
to
do?
learn from the mistakes of your elders.
Well, okay, so
And
first things first is I have heard endlessly complaints about solo queue. I've made a lot of them.
I haven't. I just tend to believe that it's all about your individual skill, especially over like short bursts of games. Like if you're just talking like the duration of like a rank up, like the 3 to 5 games that you have to play to go from one rank to another, that tends to be the best way to gauge the skill of a player is by just taking just an incredibly small, irrelevant sample size of 3 to 5 games. And then you just make that important for no reason. And then you can tell who the good players are.
Yeah, so Riot actually...
Riot, what the fuck? I've been telling you since season 4 to get rid of promos. What are you doing?
Preseason,
you
man.
Motherfuckers. I've been saying this for 6 years. Why? Why? Just get rid of promos. I'm begging you. I'm on my fucking knees.
Okay.
Why don't you just do this? God damn it.
I think you have encapsulated the hopes of a community, and Riot has listened. In season 11, or the preseason, we're going to be removing interdivisional promos.
I was 16 years old, fresh-faced, a brand new podcaster. I had but one request. Riot Games, please, would you perchance take a look at your fucking promo system? Because it doesn't make any sense. It's at odds with everything that you say about what makes a ranked system relevant and meaningful, and you just shit all over it with promos, and you do it year after year. I was 16 and I could see the problem. I'm 21 now.
Yeah.
I could get shit-faced if I wanted to legally at any one of the closed bars in downtown San Antonio. But no, there's still promos. What the fuck?
So, Actually, for Michael's point, I was there when he was 16. I remember
Oh, he
Michael.
was.
I
It's a little
remember.
weird.
I remember Michael
He would stand
screech.
right here behind me.
I remember Michael screeching at the top of his undeveloped voice about how shitty those promos were. And he was right then, and he's right now. And Riot has finally listened, like 5 seasons later,
I
and
hate them.
we're gonna lose that between. There's still the like graduate from gold to plat promos,
Dumbasses. I
but
hate them.
there's not going between like like gold 2 and gold 3 or whatever, which is fine
I
because
guess that's progress, technically.
to be totally honest, like I'm a little bit upset. Like I got gated super hard on plat 2, which was weird. So like Michael and I got all the way up to plat 1. I didn't. I was in my promos, and then
I lost my diamond promos twice this season, and I didn't play that many games this season. I played like 140 games this season of ranked. I didn't really care that much. I know I could have, if I put in more games, I'm sure I would have gotten to diamond. But like after you fail the promos twice and you already kind of don't care, it's like, why the fuck am I? I'm not gonna keep playing at that point. Like I'm
right.
not. It's just not gonna happen.
And so I mean, the promos were a real downer because like I don't know how many times I'm like, oh, I've won, like, I won 3 to get into my promos and won 1 more and then lost 2. And then I have to win 2 more to get back into my promos. And then I win 1 and lose 2. And it's like I'm constantly 3 up and 2 down. And yet I'm falling backwards. And so after a while, that like absolutely wrecked my mental. Like it feels hopeless, and then once you get that hopeless feeling, it's hard to shake it. That being said, I will tell you that like from my point of view, a couple of the things that I did that made ranked a hell of a lot more bearable is I turned off all chat. Not all chat, all space chat. My
What kind of
team,
chat?
enemy team, none of it. Turn it all off. It's totally fucking useless. Because the only
Okay,
thing.
but Blake,
Mhm.
what if you have to communicate a complex strategy with your team of silver four players?
You don't.
What do you do then?
No, you don't. You
You
don't have to
don't?
do that.
You
So
just don't talk to them?
any player at League of Legends that actually has any kind of a basis in the game will understand between pings and emotes what you intend.
I have emotes off too. I live in a fucking rubber room. There's just
Yeah.
no communication whatsoever.
So once I turned off all chat, like all of a sudden the game became much more self-focused. Like I'm working on me and doing things right and improving things, and I like the reality of the situation is this season, while I and like this is dumb to say, like, oh, I could get diamond. I think I could. I think if I put in more games, I would squeak into diamond. Um, and I don't. I think actually once I got to diamond, I could climb more simply because my issue is that I give too much, like, and this has been consistent with me forever. I give too much credit to players to know what they should do, and then I do those things and act accordingly. If they would do the things that I would do, it would turn out well, but they don't, and then I die.
And to just add an asterisk, the other thing is that we've talked about this extensively, that you have a problem with adjusting from the quote unquote correct play.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a dumbass Ezreal that could arcane shift in and actually just win a trade, it's an Ezreal player. Like we've observed this pattern by playing with hundreds of Ezreal players. They
Mm-hmm.
don't play aggressively ever. No low elo Ezreal player, and by low elo I mean below diamond and really below like diamond one. No Ezreal player will ever go
Well, like
aggressive in lane.
whenever you say that, because I want to say something that's going to come off as very elitist. Okay,
Sure.
to anybody who's like lower elo, diamond players, ADC in particular, like I'm a diamond mid laner is a good player. A diamond jungler is a good player. A diamond top laner is a good player. A diamond ADC is not a good player. And whenever I say this, I don't know what it is about ADCs, but like a Diamond 2 ADC or a Diamond 1 ADC, those are good players. Like really good players.
Yes,
A Diamond
agreed.
4 ADC is not.
No,
Unless they're like on their way to Diamond 1, they're really not. And there's a dramatic difference more than I think any other role.
I would agree with that.
Like
Definitely.
there is for every other, like if I'm drawing out a diagram for every other position, if I take skill, it goes like in a like parabolic curve, right? Like it kind of planes out at like iron and bronze. Like there's not a whole lot of difference, but it's meaningful. And then in gold, it starts tipping up faster. And then in plat, it tips up harder. And then in diamond, it tips up. And then in challenger, master, all those tiers, it's like, bam, like virtually
Straight
straight
up.
up, right?
Yeah.
I think that peak happens for ADCs earlier. Like it goes straight up at like Diamond 2. Like there's a
Hmm.
huge difference between Diamond 3 and Diamond 2 in ADCs. And
And
that's
Diamond One.
and
Like
Diamond
Diamond
1.
Two is kind of the gate
Yep.
between the two.
Yeah.
And then once you get to Diamond One, those are good players.
Those are yeah, and not only are they good players, they're probably the best players on their team
Yeah.
for
That's
that
not
elo.
uncommon. I
But
mean,
like I think a
yeah.
Diamond 3 ADC is odds are the worst player on their team.
Which is weird and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I've never really I've been trying to because I actually agree with Blake that the ADCs that we've been getting are just horrendous players, and we've been doing it not so much like in the past few weeks. We had like a month where we were kind of like going for it a little bit, and then I failed my diamond promos twice, and then I haven't really played since, and I just fucked around and played Quinn and Wukong for the rest of the season, and that was whatever. Um,
Yeah, we
and
we
Victor.
stopped winning at that point.
Oh, shut the fuck! I played like two Quinn games with you,
Yeah, I regret both
and
of
you
those Quinn
inted both of
games.
them.
Yeah, I did
Uh,
have a rough series. Those
yeah,
I'll tell you this, like I want to go on the record for having said this because I don't want people to think that I'm like a sour grapes whatever. Like, oh, I could do whatever I want to. I just didn't. Blah, blah, blah." I didn't deserve it this season. I didn't get there. Right? Like,
I didn't deserve it either. I didn't play. I mean, I don't know. I failed my diamond promos twice, so it's kind of just like at that point, it's like it's kind of a
like,
coin flip. But I
like
didn't play that many games either.
for me, like I had three problems. And this is versus last season when I deserved it and didn't get it last season, right? Like last season, I was at Plat 1 and I got into like, I was at like 75 LP Plat 1 or something. I was like one game out from, because I was getting like 25 a win or something. And like, I was like one, maybe two games out of my series to Diamond. And then I got inted so many times and like got unwinnable games where like somebody was running it down or like people were just so angry at end of season that they were rage quitting and there was no recourse to any of that. And so I hit so many unwinnable games at the end of the season that I went mental boom and then dropped hard all the way to like plat 3 because I just would lose two games and win one and lose three games and win one and lose four games and win one and like okay, I mean I torpedoed, but none of those games were really my fault or like I wasn't the determining outcome in any of it. And it wasn't that I failed to carry those games because even in the games where I did play incredibly well, we would still lose because like somebody was intentionally trying to or they would quit as a 4v5 or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's your like plat is fucking miserable. It's a
It's the
miserable
worst
elo.
elo that exists, hands
So
down. It might get really bad as well in like super high elo because the games are just more unbalanced in high elo, and then you also deal with things like win trading. And when I say high elo, I mean like diamond two, diamond one plus, basically.
yeah.
Like you deal with things like win trading and ghosting and like all that shit at that elo. So that might be worse.
Hmm.
But like we're talking about us 99 percenters
Yeah.
fucking high mid to high platinum is I've played in every fucking elo. I started in bronze in season back when bronze was the lowest rank. and you had the 5 tier. I was bronze 4 in season 3. That's where I started, and I was fucking horrendous. So I have played in every fucking elo that this game has to offer, and mid to high platinum is the worst consistently. And
Yeah.
like you can even include like Diamond 4 in that, because Diamond 4 is really its own rank. Because Diamond 4 fucking sucks for so many reasons. The number one reason being that nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah,
Because
at
most
that
people
point,
know,
you're at 0 LP, you're not going to lose out of it, and you can
and
throw a
most people
game if
know
you
that
want.
the next plateau from Diamond is Masters. And there's a massive gap between being a Diamond 4 player and being a Masters player. And most Diamond players, because they're good enough at the game to understand the skill curve, they know what it takes, or at least have a rough approximation of what it takes to get from Diamond to Masters. And they know that they either can't hack it, or the very small percentage can, and they go for it. Um,
But I mean, anyway, I want
yeah,
to get back to
but
what I was
yeah,
getting at. So like last season, I deserved it. Shit happened. I didn't get it. Like that was a bad roll of the dice. This season, didn't deserve it. I did not put in the work that I needed to do to put in. I didn't analyze all my games. I didn't watch replays like I was supposed to, or like if I was serious about. And a lot of it is arrogance because I'm like I'm good enough to do it. I've done it before, right?
yeah.
The
Well, I want to
problem
talk about that,
is
but I'll come back to it.
okay. The problem is I was making mistakes and I wasn't correcting them. And so I didn't deserve that, and it caused me to be wildly inconsistent. And I mean, you can answer like the reason that we're talking about this right now is because Ponderous duoed with me, so he can
Mhm.
verify a lot of what I'm saying or refute it, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
Sure.
I'm open to criticism, but the things that I did wrong this year, I didn't try to actively improve my play. I just tried to play. And
Mhm.
whenever you try to play, your improvement curve is going to be much slower than if you try to actively work on things to improve. And as
Yes and
evidence to
no. I want
that,
to come back to that. That's what I
okay,
want to talk about.
as evidence to that, I'm still having the same issues that I was having a month or two ago. Like
Okay.
I still have all those same problems. I have a kind of a fundamentally almost unfixable issue in that it
In the
is in.
current role that you play in, because I think I know where you're going with this.
Oh,
But
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, I I rely on a partner that I am somewhat gated by,
Yes.
and that makes it difficult to control my own outcome of a game because I'm in a role where, at best, I have 6 buttons. I have 3 buttons, and my teammate has 3 buttons. And if we don't hit our buttons correctly together, we lose, right?
Yeah.
And the other end of it is I'm up against duo lanes that are going to hit their buttons correctly and are going to communicate, and I am not because I am a solo player in a duo lane, which puts me at a disadvantage. The problem that I have found with duos is that when I duo with my ADC, the rest of the map suffers due to
Mhm.
the elo gap that gets created when you roll a duo.
Yeah. So yeah, like I can play ADC pretty well. And we've tried to do a bot lane before. Now I am much less experienced in that role than I am in like top or jungle, especially, and like even mid makes a little bit more sense to me. Like I've just spent by far the least amount of time in bot lane. Like my mechanics are fine. My mechanics don't are not what's gating me. It's not that I don't know how to orb block. It's not any of that bullshit. It's just that like my 2v2, and it's not even that I'm horrible at 2v2 laning. It's just that I'm not good enough at it to dominate when I do it, you know? Because like I know I'm pretty sure I've been your main duo partner this season. You've obviously been my main duo partner because pretty much every solo queue game I played this season was duo with you. At
Mm-hmm.
least the vast majority were. And like the other thing, just to touch on this real quick, is that we pick dog shit roles to duo. Top and support is probably the worst or one of the worst combinations to duo, like
Yeah,
to duo role, because we can't influence each other hardly at all.
right.
So we're both on our own islands on
Right.
opposite sides of the
And
map,
we're
and
somewhat at the mercy of like
yeah,
I'm gated, so it leaves him in a position where he has to just really carry or I have to roam a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm also at an elo where roaming is not a great strat unless everything is already lost.
Yeah.
And
Because
it,
your ADC will die when you roam
yep,
in this elo. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
like you can't leave them alone.
No.
It's like leaving a child alone on a playground in front of a whole bunch of menacing sex predators. It's not going to go well almost instantly.
And it's also not going to be that surprising when it doesn't go
Right,
well.
right. I mean,
The outcome is somewhat forecast at that point.
right. It's like I may just give the kid a shirt that says "down for anything," and then go
Okay.
from there. Like this is gonna go super south, super fast.
Yeah.
So like like support is not like everybody talks about support being a great role to climb. Like, oh, you can just climb. Supports are so strong right now. You win the lane. And while I will agree that supports are probably as strong as they have ever been right now in terms of our ability to itemize and affect the game early, um, unless you duo, it makes it very difficult because there's not like bot lane is the lane of instantaneous burst triggers, right? So like you need to be positioned closely enough that you can follow up on things that your support does. And whenever I say instantly close enough, I mean you're within range of your auto attacks and or abilities. So that way your burst follows my burst. And then somebody just dies instantly. It's also a lane of like pressure and control. And all of those things, everything that I just said, requires a tremendous amount of coordination. I mean, fuck, even laying wards requires a tremendous amount of coordination. If I go up to Tribush to lay a ward and you, as my ADC, don't go with me, you are abandoning me to potential death, even if the other lane stays there. Because what happens if their jungler is there?
Yeah.
Like you need to be there to support me. And if the two of us walk up together and their lane stays and the jungler's there, nothing happens. The jungler doesn't go on me and try to kill me. Right? Because what's going to happen if the jungler's there? He's going to go on me. The other lane is going to go on you. You can't help me. I can't help you. And we both end up, at best, getting crushed out and blowing our flashes and escaping. At best. At worst, we both die.
Unless, let's talk about this. Unless it's a Shyvana, in which case they just have to flail their limbs at you because Shyvana doesn't actually have abilities or auto attacks pre six, so she can't actually fight
Oh,
back.
okay. So this is a meme. So we had a jungler in our game
Was I
that,
playing bot lane this game? I think I was. I
yeah,
think
I
this
think
was
you were
our
playing bot
little
lane.
the great experiment bot
Yeah,
lane, as it were.
the Great Experiment. It's more like the Great Depression, to
Oh,
be totally
probably.
honest. But okay, so the Shyvana,
Enemy Shyvana. Or
literally,
no, no, it was
no,
Ally.
it
It was
was
Ally. It was Ally.
ours. It
Sorry,
was
sorry, sorry.
ours.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. I
The
remember.
Shyvana came in, like we were at a position where the Shyvana was like near or at Dragon, taking scuttle or something. We ping assistant, click her, ping assist on our lane.
We've like blown their summoners or something.
Yeah, and we create a killer engage.
Yeah, we're fucking
And
them up.
the Shyvana doesn't do anything. And
And
then
she like
so,
look, she's like literally standing like right outside of the river bush. Like it's not like we're engaging when she's at fucking blue buff or something. She's like already here. Like
mhm,
literally is already in the area when we engage.
yep. And
And
so we're fighting this fight to the death. Keep in mind, we are not going to win this engagement without her.
right.
And we end up having to blow all of our stuff. Their two players have a sliver of health.
Yeah.
And I think we both ended up dying.
I think we did.
And they used all of their abilities to kill. They have no cooldowns left.
No. No no cooldowns of their regular abilities and no cooldowns of their summoner spells.
And
And keep in
so
mind this is early game, like level 4 or 5.
then after all this, they walk up to the tower and they start blasting at our tower and we're pinging her like fucking go kill them. Like go, like just go and finish them. And she's like I'm not. I don't. Have, I'm Shyvana. I don't have my ult. I'm not even a champion until 6. I'm like,
Her actual words.
those are.
I'm
That's a
not a
quote.
champion until 6.
Yeah, that's a quote. And
Keep in
we're
mind, these
like,
are two players with or like not 50%, with like 50 HP.
yeah, like you can kill them with just burnout.
Yeah.
Like an auto attack and burnout. Like they can't even stop you from getting on them because they have no cooldown, no flash, and no hit
They're under
points.
tower.
And they're under tower. And she had flash, by the
Yeah.
way. And so it's like she didn't even go in.
So we've
And
just like been ripping on this Shyvana player ever since for
yeah.
that mentality, which is
Well,
the
and then
mentality that it actually kind of takes us neatly along to. That's the mentality that ADCs seem to have. I'm not a champion until I get Infinity Edge and Storm Razor and fucking Rapid Fire
right.
Cannon,
And
which is
what's
just
funny
not
is
true.
in plat I also see like ADC skill increases with game duration.
It does, which is weird because it should be the opposite. Everyone should be good at laning,
Mm-hmm.
and people should be worse at playing the late game, which is actually somewhat true if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people have a
Well,
decentish
because
understanding of
every
laning.
game has
You have to
laning
lane.
phase.
Yes.
Not every game has late game because you don't
Yes.
get there.
You're
Sometimes you
just
lose before that.
you're just physically doing more reps of laning phase than you are of any other phase of the game because you're doing it every game. And that's what's so bizarre about ADCs is that they don't fucking like at this elo for whatever reason, ADCs just don't know how to lane. Like
No,
they
they don't.
just are lacking in that skill. And I don't understand it. Because like top laners, even if they're not good players, like they understand the basics of laning, of like trading stance and like all that bullshit and the UNSW Law Society videos that none of you motherfuckers are ever gonna watch.
Yeah.
Uh
I've given up on recommending. I literally tell everybody, you need to watch those videos. They contain everything you will need to know to get to diamond. If you're serious about a climb, watch those fucking videos. And then the first
and you
thing
can
I
watch,
ask
I
people
mean,
is, have you watched those videos? And the answer I give is, I've watched some of them, which means I haven't watched fucking any
which
of
means I
them.
watched one maybe
No, I
like a
watched the
month ago.
first couple of minutes of one, and then I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna play a game.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
your dumbass friend invited you. You're like, you want to play an ARAM, bro? And you're like, no, I'm in deep concentration. I'm studying so that I can improve my skill in League of Legends. Of course, that's not what you said. You said, yeah, let's play fucking ARAM. ARAM is so fun. Fucking hate ARAMs.
Let's play an A.
Uh,
Anyway, so I wanted to get back to what we were actually talking about.
we
So
had a
like,
point.
yeah, I failed in those regards. Like I didn't try to improve what those issues were. I didn't have less faith in my laner because honestly, a I felt like it was required for me to carry the game for us to win. Like I felt like I needed to be my own win con for us to win. And there were games that I literally would throw on my back and take over and do all the damage in the world and we would win. And there are games where I would have double digit deaths and didn't make any impact whatsoever. And so if you look at those games, I was too
Swingy.
roller coaster. Like I was swingy as
You're a
fuck.
very feast or famine player,
Yeah, and that's a problem.
which I kind of am too.
But
But I'm
like
playing a role that like benefits from that more than support, you know?
well, and that being said, like you did play like Trendemir, who's always gonna have a split push. So if you get ahead, great, you crush. If you fall behind, you're still fine because you're a split put
You
thresh,
have a method
a
back into the
split
game.
push threat, regardless of whether you're behind or not.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can be killed. And even if you are killed, it's not a big gain because you're behind.
Yeah.
Like you pull away somebody who's going to otherwise be meaningful. So it's like it's still you're still feasible, right? That being said, like for me, if I got behind, I have some utility, but I'm playing as brand, so I don't have a whole lot. Like I needed to have damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I knew the mistakes that I was making, but I failed to fix them. And then that makes my failure to climb my fault. And I mean, realistically, if I would just play 1,000 games this season, I'd be diamond. I'm fairly sure,
Yes.
because eventually I would fucking get there.
Yes.
But
There is a law of large numbers in play
yeah, I
that we've
mean,
talked about before.
yeah, but and plus I would shore up some of those things just by virtue of playing those games and honing bit by bit.
True.
But I didn't make an active effort to reduce that number from 1,000 to 100,
Yeah.
and I
Can
could
we
have done that.
can we talk about the fact that I'm the platinum game whisperer? That I can just see a person play for 5 minutes and tell you how many games they have this
Oh yeah.
season.
So we had a running thing where Ponderous would look at somebody's play and then be like, "That motherfucker's played 800 games this season, hard stuck, like 50% win rate. I guarantee he's like 800 games." And I'd look it up and it was like they have played 812 games. I'm like, motherfucker, you like 200 fucking 50 games, and then it would just be that every fucking time, like within like
I'm just
25.
I'm just the platinum whisperer.
But
There was this fucking fiddlesticks player that I remember specifically who was like he was like the his name was like the fear of NA or some shit like that
yeah, it
or
was like Diamond Elo.
Diamond Elo
Yeah,
Destroyer. That was a
Diamond
different guy,
Destroyer.
but there was also him. And there was this fucking fiddlesticks. I'm like, this guy is I didn't know. I just knew had like a lot of mastery points, which could mean a lot of things. Because like I have a lot of mastery points on like Katarina, but those are all from pre-rework. So like just take it with a grain of salt. But he had like 300,000 points on fiddlesticks. I'm like, this guy has played 1,400 games this season, and they're all fiddlesticks. I fucking guarantee it. We look him up. He's at like just like 1,450 games, and they're all fiddlesticks games.
Yeah, yeah, they fucking are.
And
And
there's a Platinum 2 player named Diamond Elo Destroyer, 1,000 games this season. Like, fuck off. Oh my god. That's trying to keep things a little bit light. That shit was so funny, though. Just trying to guess.
but I mean, so as to like why I failed, that was probably the biggest one, right? The second one was I didn't commit to ranked all season. And that was the same issue from last season. I tried to do it all at the end. This season, I just didn't want to play. And that was different for me. Yeah, I think I was burnt out a lot this season with the game itself through
Yeah,
summer, because like I didn't want to play League this summer simply because I didn't think the game was in a good place and it was so incredibly toxic at the time, and all the rage quitting and all of that I think Riot actually finally is making a good faith effort to fix, but also I don't think they're succeeding in fixing this. Like, okay, so the toxicity of the game, does that cause me to lose directly? Yeah, sure. I mean, but it causes you to lose in a way that is a coin flip. And so theoretically, the coin flip should fall in your favor as long as you're not the one rage quitting, right?
right.
So the people that say like I'm losing because of rage quitters, like, no, while you're losing is because you don't accept rage quitting as a 50-50 coin flip that you have no control over. You let
Right.
it tilt you, and then you play bad the next game
Right.
because somebody rage quit on you the game
Which is the
before.
classic vicious cycle of League of Legends. This is every tilt spiral in a nutshell. This is what happens to me, and I haven't made an actual effort to climb since like season 8. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, I tried this season kind of. I played like 150 games. I don't count that as like actually trying, you know?
Hmm?
Like I think if you're playing less than 300 games a season, like of ranked in a season, you're not making a serious effort. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree with that. I mean, that's a
or at least you're not
baseline
making a
level.
serious macro level effort, you know? Like you can try hard in those 150 games or whatever, and like you can be trying in each of those games,
Okay,
but you're
let me
not
just
like
say this.
trying overall.
You're not trying to peak if you're
Right.
playing less than 300 games. You're just
And
trying to
really,
get to a
yeah,
point, right? But
right.
like you're not peaking at that. Like that's
Yeah, if
not.
you play that few games, you're trying to just get to the next plateau, which is usually the 4 division of whatever elo is above
Yeah,
you.
Elo's above you.
So
I'm
for
trying
us,
to
it's
get to
Diamond
plat,
4.
trying to get to diamond, trying to get to gold.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's you. And that's fine.
Um,
But if
which
you
is fine.
want to see like honestly how high you can get and where you're going to plateau, it takes more than that.
Yeah.
And I
And
mean,
like
I
real
have
yeah.
barely, I think like maybe I'm at 500 games this season total.
Yeah.
I think. But I
I think
mean,
you're like 450 or something. I don't know,
yeah.
but somewhere around
But I
there.
mean, realistically, those games are so strangely spaced that I put in like 200 from like July
Last
or like August,
yeah. Yeah.
September, like somewhere in that neighborhood is when I actually started playing for real.
Right.
And the entirety of the rest of the season, I didn't want to play. And to a certain degree, like I do blame Riot for not doing anything with toxicity and game ruining behavior. And that's still happening. Like, okay, so one of my friends is in Iron. Like, it,
Is he good? Does he have good
yeah,
macro?
he's an amazing player. He's great macro.
Okay, just
By the
checking.
way, that's the running joke of Lola podcast for you new listeners. Every time I coach somebody who is low on the ladder, they say, I have good micro, but my
Yeah.
macro is bad. Or they say, I
Or
have
yeah.
good macro, but my micro is bad. And
And
it's
the
at 99.9999% of the time, it's both.
that
Like
are bad.
that are bad. You have both of those things bad and you need to fix both of them. One of
Yes.
them may be better than the other, but it's like saying my this part of my body is less on fire than the other part of my body. It's all on fire, like, but this is smoldering and this is actively burning. It is.
Weird metaphor.
It's true. I mean, but still,
I
the damage is there
guess
everywhere.
it does
Like,
paint a mental image. It's
stop, drop,
true.
and roll, motherfucker. It's time to go. Like, you are on fucking fire. Anyway, regardless, he's an iron, and I decided I was going to play a couple of games with him. We had a good time. I got on my Smurf account and I played mid because I'm trying to learn mid, and it's helpful to, like, play bad players at mid and like, actually focus on, like, these are the options and opportunities I have to, like, crush, right?
Hmm.
So whenever I'm playing against good players, I don't let those opportunities pass by. I mean, granted, I won't have as many opportunities to capitalize on, but it's something that I need to do in order to hone.
Well, like let me give you a metaphor because that's what we
Yeah,
do. We
yeah. Let's
just
do that. We are the
uh
metaphoric podcast. Sure.
so like there's some like Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy that was answering someone's question about like what the level of people that you should train with is. Like should you just train with people who are better than you or like just people that are at your level or what's the deal? And this guy who's like I don't remember who it was, some like really famous Brazilian jiu-jitsu trainer and he said no, you should spend most like 80% of your time training with people that are below your level because you're going to be in a more relaxed state and you're going to be able to get into a flow in and out of a flow state more easily play like working with people that are below your level and then you take the synthesis of all of that of sparring with people that are below your level and then you take it to people that are at your level or better than you and then that's kind of where you apply it so like if you're like a higher level player or like even a gold player who wants to learn a new role it could be helpful to go try and practice it on a lower skilled account. Now that doesn't mean you play mid for 3 games and you don't go 20-0 and then you start playing your main role on the Smurf.
Right.
That's not what you do. You actually just genuinely practice this one new skill over and over again on this other account.
Right. And
So
so that's what I was doing is I was like, hey, I'll play mid, whatever. And I think we like won two or three and lost one, something like that. But I was playing with him and we were having a good time and we were playing. And, I was watching him play. And one of those games, I literally had somebody who was streaming, by the way, run it down into me over and over and over again. Like, just ran into tower, and I just went over and poked them once with my trident. I was playing Fizz. Poked them once with my trident, and then I was like a 7-0 Fizz. And then the game was over because I'm a good player that I can crush irons with 7-0. You know what I mean?
tell me
Like,
more.
yeah, like easy. This is not even. This is over. So I ended up with that game with like 30 something kills. Like it was dumb. But regardless, I looked at that and I went, what the fuck? Like there are enters in iron. Cool. And so then this guy was streaming, and I looked at his stream, and he is bragging about how, as a gold player, he is sinking this account to the bottom of iron so he can stream himself playing iron and crushing iron players. And I looked at his account, he had 27 losses in a row and was inting, like running it down, inting. And like he was dying, I think 9, 10, like 10 times a game or so on all of his games. And like
With
it
I'm
wasn't,
assuming extremely low KP.
yeah,
Yeah,
extremely
of
low
course.
KP. And then he was sitting back and like running in between towers and like talking to the people who were watching him play, which there was like three.
Who the
But
fuck would watch that?
I don't know.
Like,
Like I
even
don't
if
know
you're
what.
friends with that douchebag, why would you watch him do that?
Right, and it's like the most like you're literally watching a guy just sink an account. And I'm like
That's
sitting there going,
that's
"Wow,
cringe.
this dude is literally inting iron to try to get to the bottom of iron 4. Holy shit." And of course, he didn't get banned. And he even said, "I'm not going to get banned. Riot won't ban my ass for this shit. I've already lost 27 games in a row." He's right. I looked the other day. Not banned, still playing. Fucking madness, right? Like, and he's at the bottom of iron.
By the way, that guy is so much worse for the community than someone who calls you a racial slur for every single race on the planet. That guy is ruining the game more than any fucking toxic player. Like, because he's just destroying the quality of games and there's nothing you can do about it. You
Yep.
can't report him because
Well,
it
your report
apparently does
systems.
nothing. You
Like I
can't
said, I mean, he
fucking
got times
mute him.
9. Like, he got
Yeah.
times 9 in that game. And so that kind of game ruining behavior, like, yeah, I mean, one game it's going to be him. The next game, I'm going to have an enter on my team or whatever. And that should theoretically favor you.
It balance. Okay, here's the thing. It balances out over time. Fucking great. Like, let's say that you play 500 games this season, you get somebody running it down mid 10 times on your team, and you play against somebody running it down mid 10 times on the enemy team. That's not a net positive. That's 20 ruined games. Just
Yep.
because it's happening to both teams doesn't mean that it's okay. Just because, well, statistically, it will average out over
Okay, so
enough
hold up,
games.
hold up. So,
Like,
but
no.
no. Here, yeah, I agree with you. You can't let 20 games be ruined. That's shit. It's a shit experience for everybody involved. The game is meaningless. It makes you feel like you have just wasted a ton of time. The
Yeah.
problem, what I'm saying is that the reason you're not climbing?
No, it's
No,
not.
no, because it's 10 in a win and 10 in a loss column. And yes, like if you want to talk about somebody being statistically solo queue unlucky, this fucking guy, me, I am the unluckiest son of a bitch in solo queue that has ever existed. Like can be confirmed by anybody on the podcast. Ask them. Just ask them. I
It's
am
pretty true, I have to admit.
like I get the worst out of this shit every fucking year. And I don't know why that is, but my god, do I just I'm a magnet to game ruining behavior for some reason or another. It's almost like
It's because you have a punchable face.
that's it. I mean, I must have an e punchable face because, or
Yeah.
either I'm more famous than I know, and people just want to fuck with me. But I honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with name recognition. I'm just the unluckiest son of a bitch in the world because the
It's
amount of
pretty bad.
times that somebody's like, "You're Wise Papa Smurf from Lola podcast" is like twice a year. I get that, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm famous. Like somebody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna int that motherfucker." Like I don't get that, right?
No.
But like I do get a disproportionate amount of game ruining behavior for every like I get more than any other podcast host that we have. But that being said, it's not that's the reason you are not climbing. It is the tilt spiral that puts you on.
Right, and we were gonna touch on this earlier, and then we got
So go
distracted,
ahead
but
and hit that. I'll be
because
right
I'm
back.
an expert in this. I'm an expert on tilt. I've had seasons where I avoided tilt expertly, deftly, and I've had seasons where the tilt has consumed me and become my identity. So I can give you good advice about what to do with tilt. Um, but the basic general tilt spiral that has happened to everyone, and depending on your personality, I'm pointing at myself for the podcast listeners, can be exacerbated by certain temperaments, certain events, specific games, specific life circumstances, any number of things. Because we're all human at the end of the day and we all have these problems. Um, but so let's talk about the tilt spiral. So here's the standard spiral.
Okay,
You're
hold on,
playing a
hold on,
game.
hold on,
Oh,
hold on.
God damn it, Blake. I was finally
Hold
getting
on.
to the point.
I'm done peeing, but I want to say that you were the most gentle on yourself version of that statement ever.
What?
You are the living embodiment of the tilt spiral.
No,
Just so we're
okay.
clear, like
No, there are people that tilt harder than me.
like if I
I
imagined a
know where I
tilt
rank on the
spiral,
spectrum.
if I imagined a tilt spiral as a human being, I would put your weird ass hair right on top of it and
No,
wrap it in a kimono, and
no.
that's what a tilt spiral
That's just
is.
not true. Like, I
So,
know myself. That is not fucking true. I tilt, but you've been with me when I'm like, I fucking hate this shitty game. Fuck this game. Fuck all the time I put into this game. And I'm still getting solo kills in top lane.
yeah.
Like, there have been times where I've tilted and just run it straight down, but there are an equal number or greater number of times where I'm tilting but still playing well.
But okay,
So
so I will
I'm
say
only
this.
counting tilt when your
I
play
I
deteriorates.
think that is relevant. And I think your play deteriorates less for tilt than the average person, right? Like I feel like you go from being and this is like a 0 to 10, right?
Yeah.
10 is not like you're some sort of godlike professional player, but this is you at your best.
Mm-hmm.
And 0 is you at your absolute dumbass worst, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
an average player that goes on a tilt spiral, they go from like a 10 to like a 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then it can drop them all the way down to a 0 where they're just playing fucking ass awful. And
Yes.
for you, I feel like you bottom out at like a 6.5, right? And to be frank, usually a 6 for you is good enough to win the lane anyway,
Yeah.
right?
It's pretty
But
accurate.
you're certainly not a 10. And
Sure.
at a 10,
There's a difference between 6 and 10 still.
yeah. And I mean, well, 6 is probably good enough to win the game. All things else is equal.
Right. If my mid laner goes 0-0, if my jungler goes 0-0, if my bot lane goes 0-0, and I'm
Yeah,
playing at a 6, I will statistically win more games than I lose,
right.
basically.
Problem, those things don't happen in Plat. Plat's the land of superheroes. Like
True.
it's weird because like you don't see this as much in gold. Like in gold, everything ends up like coin flips. Like one player will win, one player will lose, but those things kind of balance out. And like,
Which is why gold is such an easy elo to stomp in for me. Like, because I will be the superhero in every game. Obviously, it's because I'm
mhm.
like more skilled and I'm above that elo. But even when I was like at that elo, I only spent like 6 months in gold.
Yeah.
Like I
Well,
went
like
straight from
the first
silver to
time I went,
platinum,
like
basically.
I got out of silver and got into gold, I skipped divisions in gold all the way to plat.
Yeah.
And it took me a bajillion games to get into gold, and then I was just out of it like that.
Right.
It was weird. But like the reason I think gold is so much different is like people will get leads, but they won't like extend those leads and meaningfully in team fights or like play to their win cons. So those leads matter less,
Yeah.
and then the game just kind of evens out and resolves in the mid to late game.
Right.
And like you don't push those leads to a breaking point versus plat, it's like who created the biggest monster and then can I shut down that monster or do we lose the game before that
Which lane went
happens?
6-0?
Right.
Like that's platinum. Let me shut up. Let me talk about the tilt spiral
Yeah,
because I
so
still haven't said it.
tilt
I've tried
spiral.
like 3 times.
Go on.
Because you're saying I'm this tilt monster. It's not
You are a
true.
tilt monster. You're like the cookie monster
Shut
of
up.
tilt. You just eat them up. Like,
Yeah, eating
so,
up the enemy top laner. So basically, what happens is everybody has played a game where you play out of your mind, you play great, and your team still loses. And those games where you give 100% and you still lose can be extremely demoralizing. Well, queue up for another game. The same thing happens. Now you're pissed because you tried your ass off 2 games in a row and you were not rewarded for it. Now, statistically speaking, That's just going to happen, and it's going to happen consecutively if you play enough games. You're going to get 2 games in
Right.
a row where you're the best
Logically,
player.
yeah,
Yes.
logically, you are
Just
aware that this is
yes.
going to happen to you.
Yes. If you know anything about large
Emotionally,
data sets, it's
yeah.
going to happen to you, and you know that.
Emotionally, though, it's going
Yeah.
to fuck your shit.
Yeah. And so what happens is you play these 2 games, maybe 3 games, you play them really well and you lose. Now you're fucking pissed. Now you start telling yourself, "Okay," and I don't know how many times I've said this, and it's actually not entirely untrue, but it is untrue. But I start my particular demon is saying like, "Fuck this shitty game. My individual contribution means nothing because I just lose anyways, regardless of how well I play." Like you can be the best player in a game and still lose
Oh, this
very
Jax. This
easily.
Jax is just better than me. He clearly deserves to fucking win. He's just fucking better than me because it doesn't fucking
Uh,
matter. It doesn't. This is Michael. This
this
is
is
my
me.
Michael impression.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's my go-to line currently. Is X is just better than me. Like when I beat someone in lane and their team is winning, like if I'm against a Jax as Trinamir or whatever the fuck,
Or like in the
and I'm
mid to late game, you're like, this motherfucker, he just deserves to win. He's so fucking good. He just clearly deserves to win. Fucking better player. And I'm like, God, Michael, fuck. But anyway,
but
go on.
still like trying my ass off while saying that, but like also I'm just so fucking mad. Like I'll just destroy someone in lane and then the rest of the map loses. And
Hmm.
so me winning lane has like very little impact on the game
That's probably the
compared.
most tilting thing for Michael. Like
Yes.
for me, that's tilting, but it's not like to the same. Like the thing that tilts me is not being able to perform.
Yeah.
Like we have different triggers, Michael and I. Like Michael's is I performed well and did not get rewarded for it. For me, it's I'm not even allowed to perform well because
I
I'm
wasn't given
saddled
the
to a dipshit.
I wasn't given the opportunity to perform well versus I perform well and it doesn't matter.
Right.
Versus I do get pretty triggered when I perform below my standards individually. Like that does get
And
upsetting
see,
to me.
like that doesn't really fuck with me at all, right? Like
Yeah.
the I fucked up because I'm able to like compartmentalize that shit and be like, okay, I didn't play that well. This is what I need to do moving forward, or now that opportunity's gone and I need to adjust, right? Like
Right.
I can adjust based on my own bad play. It's harder for me to adjust whenever my lane partner is a fucking drooler,
Right.
right? Like
But anyways,
because then I feel like I have to do more,
yeah.
and
But
that
anyways,
almost ends up backfiring every time.
so
But
let
go
me
on.
actually do this because we have no. We're actually just dumb. Um, but yeah, so you play these games, you play well, and then you start saying like, "I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter how well I play. We're gonna lose." And you start playing it like a 70%, and then maybe you win, maybe you lose another close game that maybe you would have won if you'd still been at 100%. You maybe could have edged out that game, but you just lost another one, and now
Well,
you're just fucking pissed.
like you at 70% is a coin flip. You at 100%
Could be a guaranteed win.
could be a guaranteed win, but you're
Right.
not there because you've mentally
And you're still
collapsed.
maybe even playing better than your lane opponent, and you
Yeah.
still quote unquote deserve to win if you're looking 1-to-1 at your lane opponent.
Hmm.
But the fact is that you have to hard carry games to climb. That's just a fact. And so then now you're playing it like a 40%.
Yeah.
And now you're just fucking think and now you're the cause of your team losing games cuz now you're the weak link. Like say that the rest of the map wins and you're just tilted out of your mind and you lose lane super hard and then your team loses and you know that it's your fault that your team lost and that you lost because you didn't play well at all. You played like shit when if you'd even just played okay, you would have won. But now you're playing terrible, and now you're just fucking your mental is gone at this point. And that is like that's the tilt spiral of like your level of play and the winnability of the game being inverse of one another. Like when you're playing super well, and it just happens sometimes. Like when you're playing super well, you get completely unwinnable games. And then the worse you start playing, the more winnable your games are, all things considered, or all things equal. And then and so as your like gameplay gets down to a zero, the winnability of the games can often go much higher. Now this is all like very like dependent on a lot of factors. It's not scientific that this is
Right.
exactly what happens, but this is what happens. This
This
is the
is not a
pattern.
this is not a statistical breakdown based on evidence. This
No,
is a
it's not. But
generalized assumptions based on how many games that we've played and experienced. But
yeah,
yes, it's
we've both
gener
played enough thousands of games to have witnessed this firsthand.
in a nutshell, this is
Yeah,
true. Okay.
yes, the concept is true. You might be able to like get us on the sensory details of the thing,
Well,
but
and then the other
concept
end
is
of it
true.
is there are other pressures that exacerbate the problem of tilt spirals. Like Jackite in chat pointed out that he's like, yeah, I played those games where I outplay my opponent and still lose, and it's in a series.
Right.
It's like, okay, yep, that'll exacerbate your tilt spiral.
That was
Like,
what happened to me with my two failed diamond promos, where I just kind of stopped giving a fuck. Was like I played really well and just got unwinnable games in my diamond promos this season, and it's like, and that's when you really start feeling, for me at least, I start feeling devalued by the game itself. That like my, because I remember when I hit diamond promos, I was at like a 64% win rate, something like
mhm.
that, and like at the point where it's like it's so fucking clear that I should be getting to diamond with a 60+% win rate, you know, just because I was like
Yeah, yeah,
platinum the season
your
before, like
plat one 60% win rate, that's diamond.
that
Like,
should be diamond,
yeah,
and I
your
just
MMR
never.
is diamond at that point. But
Yes,
yes, yeah.
exactly. And you're playing against all diamond players, and it's like those games were extremely frustrating to lose because I don't think I played poorly, if what I'm remembering is correct, and I certainly like played well enough to deserve to win because I know what like high plat, low diamond gameplay looks like.
Hmm.
I hit almost diamond one playing Tryndamere a couple seasons ago, and like I just know that I'm good enough to do it. And it's just like I felt so fucking like my individual contributions were just meaningless that it's like fuck this. I'm not gonna keep playing. Like I'm not gonna keep trying if this game is gonna give me these dog shit games that I know statistically are coming down the pipeline at some point. Like my logical brain knows, okay, you're gonna get these fucking uh dog shit teams that are gonna you're not gonna be able to drag them at all. It's just gonna happen. Like it is what it is. But then when it happens, it's you're still like, this sucks, especially when it happens repeatedly. Everyone's got that story of the time where they couldn't crack a promo series for like 5 or 6 or 10 times, you know? There's no
Hmm.
worse feeling in this game than failing a series repeatedly, you know? And which is why I've always hated the series so much because it's like I'm putting time
Well,
into this game. I'm putting effort
it's
into this game and you're not valuing that, you
yeah,
know?
and it's an artificial bottleneck.
It is very artificial. That's
And
the other thing.
that's what it feels like. Like honestly, between tiers, like between gold and plat or plat and diamond, I'm actually okay with promos. I don't
Here's the
love them. I don't think they're necessary, but fine. If you want to make it a crack through and then like throw some protection on it so you don't fall out of diamond if you get there, okay. You know what? Fine. I like to me that's a thing that
so
I
what I
can
would rather
justify.
so
But
yeah.
between divisions, like that's just shit. Like that's
Yeah.
it's a shit
Can
decision.
we
But
can we talk
anyway,
about
go
that real
ahead.
quick? Because
Yeah, go for
I
it.
just had an idea, so it's probably dumb. But
Yeah.
I was thinking like when you're talking about having to crack through to another tier, I would like to see instead that they take your hidden MMR and wait for it to get, so like let's assign a fake number. Let's say that 1900 is platinum 10 LP MMR. So this is the hidden rating that
Hmm.
determines your matches if anyone's not aware.
Okay, so
Um
let's back up.
yeah.
Every time you win and lose a game, there's two ratings that your account has. There's your hidden MMR, and then there's your actual league rank, right? Your
Which is your
hidden
LP
MMR,
and your gold or whatever.
yeah, your hidden MMR is like your rating of wins, loss, like your skill
It's where the
overall,
game thinks that you actually should be, like
right?
based on your win loss
And
ratio.
so the game has a whole bunch of mechanisms that adjust your LP gains to match your MMR that it perceives you to be with what your rank is. But there are stop gaps that are in place that prevent that. Like, for example, promo series. If you're in a promo series and you win 2 out of 3, and then you're at 0 LP in the next rank, you went from 100 LP to 0 LP, which is a net LP gain of 0,
Yep.
but you have 2 to 3 additional wins. So
Right.
the game needs to give you more for a win to catch up where you are with where it perceives that you should be.
Or if
And
you're losing at 0
yeah,
and you're not losing any league points because you have the protection in place, then when you finally do drop, the game has to take that into account as well. So, but I've never really liked this whole double rankings thing because it makes games feel arbitrarily more or less important when they really shouldn't, because the whole concept of the league ranking system is that it's supposed to even out. If you have a 50% win rate, you are supposed to very slowly climb. That's been their motto with the rank system since the beginning. And so what I would like to see is, let's say that 1900, this is a fake number. 1900 is plat 10 LP MMR, and 2000 is where you crack into diamond 4. What I would rather see is, instead of having a promo series between platinum 1 and diamond 4, you have to hit an MMR goal that's hidden from you, which I think is how they do it in like Counter-Strike and some other games. You have to hit, let's say, 2050 MMR in Platinum 1 to then rank up to Diamond on your in the aesthetic of being Diamond, you know?
yeah.
So like the difference being that you can still keep going at a 50% win rate in Platinum 1, and if you keep winning one and then lose one, like, or let's say that you win two and then lose one, win two, then lose one, your MMR will steadily increase, while you could actually theoretically be losing your promo
Promos
series
because of that.
with
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
know? And
Well, it's like that's what happened to me in Plat 2.
right.
Is I was winning 2, losing 1, but the ones that I was like I'd win 1 to get back in my series, win another, lose 2.
Yeah.
Then I'd win 2 more to get back into my series,
Right.
win 1, lose 2. That's a net 3-2, three
And
two, three
and then the
two,
thing that's
and
nice
not
about
climbing.
that, the thing that's nice about this system that I'm proposing is that that also includes something of a safety net that you currently have baked into the system where you're at 0 LP, because your MMR is already above where it needs to be at quote unquote 0 LP. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and and then I think, first of all, my whole thing has always been there needs to be more fluidity between ranks, because it's always been ridiculous how structured and regimented it is, that you are from plat 1, you are now diamond 4, and you cannot like drop out of diamond. It's so dumb, especially between like individual divisions of
So
like plat
I
3 to
I
plat
want to
2.
do a metaphor here.
Of course.
The Panama Canal. This is going to be a reach of a metaphor,
Oh
but
God.
the Panama
He's getting
Canal.
geopolitical. Everybody
No,
just
the
run.
way the Panama Canal functions is that basically they have built a man-made river, and there's a whole bunch of dams in between each chunk of the Panama Canal. So for a ship to travel through, they basically move into I don't know, like a rectangle of water, and then the dams lift up the
Like a
ship.
holding bay,
Yeah,
kind
like a
of.
holding bay that fills up with water, and it lifts it up to the next one. They drop the wall, it goes on to the next one, that lops off, and then it fills up with the next. So it could basically stair step a ship by filling up cubes with water,
Yeah.
right, to get them up and down terrain to get them through the Panama Canal. What Ponderous is saying is he would prefer it be a flowing river.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being a regimented canal system where you have to fill up each thing to get out of your tier to get into the next one, because that
Right.
is literally how the system is designed right now.
Which artificially inflates, first of all, the number of games that's required out of you each season.
Hmm.
Um, Part of the reason why I think that like it's better, just strictly better, to play 1,000 games per season if you want to climb than it is to play 250, because theoretically you would think that by game 250, you would expect that someone like, because 250 games, that's a pretty big commitment. If you're committing, let's say 30 minutes, which it's really probably going to be more on average if you count queue times and champ select, but let's say that's 30 minutes of time per game, and you commit 250 games, you're already spending what would that be, 125 hours, which is essentially 5 full days of a year playing League of Legends, which is not an insignificant amount of time, you know?
Right.
And that should really be enough for the system to quote unquote rank you, if
Accurately.
assuming that your skill stays even or doesn't
Yeah.
increase
Well,
much.
I
You
mean,
know?
and that's the other thing is they artificially increase the amount of games by doing a hard reset every season of everybody's
Right.
MMR, which is
Of
totally
course.
unnecessary in my opinion. Because why? Like, okay, so season 9 or maybe it was 8, I don't remember. Fucked me over because it was the season that they made flex was a like matchmaking for each individual rank was a thing. And
Oh
so
yeah.
dynamic queue, that's what it was.
No, no, no.
Dynamic
Dynamic queue was, oh, was it
no,
dynamic
it
queue?
was
Dynamic queue was
dynamic queue.
when I thought dynamic queue was when you could queue with any number of people. That was the
Nope,
fuck
that's
season.
flex. That
No, no,
was
no. I think that became flex.
yeah, it did. But whenever
I
they
think
had
it would
dynamic
call.
queue,
Anyways, whatever.
with dynamic queue is individual matchmaking for each rank that you had. Like not each rank, each role. So like I had a top role rank and I had a mid lane rank and I had a jungle rank and I had a
No,
support
no, no.
rank
This
and an
was
ADC
no
rank.
dynamic queue was when you could queue for with any number of people.
Oh, all
I just
right.
I just googled it. It was I know what you're talking about. Role based rankings.
Role
Yeah,
based rankings. So they rolled out this system. I did my placements. I did horribly in my placements, like 2 and 8, and I went from Diamond 3 to Plat 1, and that was. I mean, that's not a huge loss. I can get back on that. Then they're like, oh, by the way, we fucked up. We're gonna have to redo all of the ranking systems because people are abusing the shit out of role-based matchmaking, and it's distorting the ladder because people with like a 25% win rate were in grandmasters and shit. I think that's what was happening.
yeah,
And so they're like, we have to reset everybody who's diamond and above gets reset. And that happened to me because my MMR was still Diamond 3. Even
yeah,
though I had just placed and I was not in diamond, it still reset me and made me do my placements again. And then it also reset my rank based on where my rank was rather than where my MMR was. So I got double shitty placements and went from plat 1 to plat 4,
yeah,
right? And my MMR is still in diamond 3.
yeah.
Okay.
And get fucked,
Yeah, and
dumbass.
then get fucked, dumbass, because that's what League did to me for an entire season. Because like I had to win diamond level games to climb in plat 4,
Yeah,
and that okay. And this was also the season where what was plat was entirely in flux because it's at the beginning of the season and good players are climbing through, right? So you'll have a whole bunch
right,
of plat players that some of them are diamond 1,
right.
whatever. So I got MMR screwed super hard on that. And that system is truly not necessary in any game where it takes 40 minutes to play a game.
It's just ridiculous, like that there even are like two rankings that are like significant and like because it's not like I would have no problem if, for example, you got a shiny, like even if they kept the MMR hidden, like you can keep hidden MMR. You don't want people abusing it or whatever. I don't really know how you would really abuse MMR if they kept it hidden. Besides, I mean, I guess I could see like people see like knowing the exact number of games they can int before like dropping or whatever. If you made
Mm,
MMR public, I could see things like that being the only real fringe abuse case of making MMR public. But
yeah.
what I would like to see is keep it hidden. I don't give a fuck. Nobody needs to know they're hidden MMR. That's fine. But just make the secondary rank because that's what LP and like the funny thing is that's what your rank is. It's secondary. The primary method of ranking, because it's the one that determines your matches, is the hidden MMR. It doesn't matter what your rank is. It's all like if you watch high level players, all of them say the same thing, especially when they're smurfing. They say the only thing that matters is win rate and hidden MMR. That's why they'll constantly dodge games if they think they have a good chance of losing because their LP does not fucking matter. Which is why I always tell people to dodge if you know you're going to lose a game. because you have a Disco Nuno on your team, it doesn't matter because it doesn't actually affect you long term because your hidden MMR is not
So
affected by
I
dodging.
do I do want to talk about dodging as a
Hang on,
strategy.
let me just finish this before, and then we'll
Yeah,
talk
go
about
ahead.
dodging.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, so basically, I'm saying I would like to see just give me the shiny little medal of I'm gold 4, I'm platinum 2, I'm diamond 3, whatever. Just display that. No LP, no other bullshit. Just put it right on my fucking account. Give me the little animation when I rank up and just keep LP and promo series and all that other shit out of it so that it's like, oh, I ranked up. Cool. You know? And
Hmm.
then if you rank down, oh, well, I ranked down. It happens if you get a
Well,
streak of
and
games
the funny thing is that is exactly the system in
in
Valorant.
Valorant. Exactly.
It's
And I
just
think it's
like
much
you
better.
gained a lot you gained a lot this game. You played really well. And Valorant also as a team game is less frustrating because it's like my individual play factors into my LP gain or loss
Which there's
more.
reasons why you can't do that in League, and they're perfectly valid.
Yeah, well I
Because
mean
you can
look
have
at
games where you're, especially you playing support, there could be games where you're 0-8, but you're putting in work, you know,
yeah. Yeah. And I mean
and that
well like
wouldn't be recommended. That wouldn't be
look at what
reflected.
Blitz Esports says about any game that we play. You know,
Oh yeah.
like how it ranks people versus how OP.GG ranks people as to
Or
who's
versus what the actual vibe of the match was. Like there have
right.
been games where I'm just hard carrying, and my dumbass Soraka gets first place because she healed a lot. I
Right.
fucking hope she healed a lot. Like Jesus.
Yeah, like she better have. That's the only thing she does. So I mean, but like I said, I do want to talk about dodging as a thing because like
Oh yeah.
the biggest thing that I can tell you is like end of season. If you're trying to reach a goal, it's a self-destructive thing because the only answer is you just have to play through
Yes.
because you
Because you're
can't
on a time
afford.
crunch.
You're on a time crunch. You can't afford not to. The normal answer is like if you're on a tilt spiral, you have to stop,
Yes.
right? So the answer for this is you're going to have to stop, but you're going to have to stop and mental reset for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not, I'm going to have to stop for the day and come back tomorrow. You
Yeah, and
don't
that's we
have
didn't
tomorrow.
actually offer that advice earlier. That is the solution to the tilt spiral is you stop fucking playing after 2 games. If you
Right.
play more than 2 games, you're tilted and you're trolling.
Yep.
That's literally
And
all it
so
is.
you have to mentally reset. So, like, go do some physical exercise. Do something that's going to put you in a good mood. Do something like, okay, so for
Go
me,
vote. Just something to de-stress you, you know? Just whatever it is.
yeah. So, I mean,
Go riot in the street. Who
like
cares?
for me, like I had some like Magic the Gathering decks that I needed to like adjust and re-sleeve. So I sat over there to the table and just did that and like adjusted the deck, put my mental energy somewhere else, and then I could come back and sit down and actually like play meaningfully because I'm no longer consumed with emotions from the previous game. Right? Am I still going to be playing at 100%? No, but I'm closer to 90 and at least that's good enough,
Yeah.
right? So do something like that. Like you've got to put a level of separation so you can mentally and emotionally recover before you step back into let's play again.
Yes.
So dodging is a viable strategy. It is a viable strategy. Keep in mind that the problem with dodging is in low elo games, dodging because you have a bad comp is a terrible idea.
Yes.
Because Michael, how
I
many of the
recommend it.
games did we win in platinum whenever
It
we
became
looked
a
at this and we said our team comp is terrible,
it
we're
became a
going to
meme
win.
that yeah, that became a meme. Like our team comp would literally be like Trindamere, Pantheon, fucking Lucian, Talon, and then Lee Sin Jungle. Like that would be our team comp. Just 5 dumbass dipshit AD champions, and we'd just look at each other and be like, "Oh, well, this is a free win." Because for whatever reason, like it was a lot of confirmation bias. I'm sure
Yeah, no, it is 100%
it is.
confirmation bias. But
But
what I'm
but also the thing was that like I don't think it's 100% confirmation bias because like it became our joke that like if we had a bad team comp we would win because there were so many games where we looked at our team comp and we're like there is no fucking way that we win this. Our team comp is horrible and they have 3 tanks. Like they're just going to stack armor and then the game is over and we would just somehow win those games. And
and easily. win those
easily.
games.
Yeah, we would stomp those games, which is kind of the only way that you win with a full AD comp. But anyways,
But I mean,
um,
yeah, but still, I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's one of those things where you're like, all they have to do is build armor and they win this game, and then they
All
don't
they have
do
to do
that.
is wait till 30 minutes and not literally run it down, and they just win by default. But they just can't do it.
Yeah, and
Um,
so I mean, it became like a running joke amongst us that if we had the better team comp, we would lose, and if
yeah,
we had the worst team comp, we would win because that's just
yes,
flat.
yes.
So at low
And
elo,
if
like
you have a
don't
crappy team comp,
dodge.
it usually means that people are on their comfort picks. By the way,
Yeah,
just as a side note, I think that's why it happens.
yeah, I think that is too.
Where
So what
someone,
I'm
if
saying
someone's
is,
like, I think that Trundle's a good pick here, and this guy has like one Trundle game ever, he's gonna fucking suck
yeah, you
and
dodge that
lose you the
game.
game.
If you have an
Yes.
auto-filled jungler, you dodge that game.
Oh, big
Like
time.
like these are the things that you
You have a
should be
Disco
dodging
Nunu.
for.
Dodge. Don't.
You have a
Your pride is not worth it.
yeah,
Dodge if you get Disco Nunu.
yeah, if you have somebody who's like
For
literally
God's sake.
talking about how they're tilted and they're gonna run it down, and I don't even know why I'm playing
People
this game.
fighting aggressively in champ select is a dodge.
Yep.
Like, especially if you see people from that clearly know each other from previous games and they're like already going at it in champion select,
Yeah,
that
just
is a
dodge that
dodge.
shit. Just
Get
dodge
out of
it.
there.
Because
There's no point.
your odds are like less than 1/4 of winning that game.
Because
So
guess what
dodge it.
loses more League of Legends games? Do you think it's tilt or do you think it's bad team compositions? I'll give you one fucking. There is a right answer here, and I'll give you one guess.
So, like I said, these are things you dodge for. You dodge
Yes.
for emotional teammates. You dodge for somebody who's on an incredible losing streak.
Yes.
You dodge somebody who's trying to play a champion that they have no prior games on and no
Especially if
skill
that
at.
champion is in the vein of Lee Sin or fucking Oriana,
Like,
Lucian, any of those
if somebody
champions.
says, I think blank is a good pick here because it fits the comp the best, and they don't have any games on it, just fucking dodge because they're going to
Yes.
be shit at that champion.
Yes.
Don't dodge because you're like, oh, my team comp is bad. That's a bad
No.
reason to dodge. Don't dodge because you don't like whatever somebody picked relative to your pick. Because like there are times where like I would roll Brand. Brand is the most effective with an ADC that has CC.
Yeah.
Um, they don't pick one that has any kind of CC.
They
Doesn't
pick
mean I
Lucian.
dodge. Yeah, they pick Lucian or something. It doesn't mean I. Well, Lucian works because you have double burst, but
Fine.
you know
But
they pick something like Jinx, which is
okay, fair enough.
not particularly good with Brand. Um, I'm not dodging that. Again, you shouldn't, because if that person is good at the champion they're picking, that matters more than synergy.
Right.
Synergy is
And
incredibly overrated.
don't rarely should you dodge because you got counterpicked. Ask fucking Blake how many Jackson Nasus players I've fucking demolished with Tryndamere
Yeah.
because they're counterpick or Malphite players, God forbid, like that are counterpicking me.
Yeah.
Malphite's a fucking dipshit champion, by the way. Fuck you if you play Malphite.
So,
Um,
regardless, like these are not like if you're maining a champion in particular, like what he was doing with Tryndamere, you
yeah,
need to be ready to play into your counter matchups and actually figure out how you're going to extract value from the map. That's part of how you climb. You
right. And most
don't
people that,
dodge things that
and
are
as a
just
literal
bad
example,
matchups.
like with the Malphite, like as an example, most people like there's this Quinn player that I watch, Quinn AD. He's like the top ranked Quinn in North America or something, and he plays against Malphites all the time. But he like did the like looked at the statistics, and something like 50+% of the Malphite players that he's playing at, and Quinn being very similar to Tryndamere, and that Malphite is not a good matchup. That's one that you really don't like if you're that champion, that AD auto attacking champion. Um, Something like 50+% of the Malphites he's playing against are literal first time Malphites that are just picking the champion to counter him and don't know anything about Malphite's power spikes, don't know anything about how to like play as Malphite, you know,
Right.
and he can win those lanes because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me a lot is like people just look at like what the fucking counter is supposed to be and then it doesn't work out for them, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, those two things that we have just laid out are the biggest threat to end of season climbing. Is tilt spiral, and we told you the only. I mean, granted, you cannot afford to go on a tilt spiral. Like you have to keep your mental strong if you're
Yeah.
going to do this, and you have to understand that these
If you're
games are
gonna do
just going
anything
to
good
be.
season,
Yeah, it's end of season. These games are going to be volatile as shit. Either way.
take it from two fucking people that have just given up on life and on League of Legends.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's not a
So I
lot for
mean,
you to do at this point.
like I said, this is the end of season. Like the games are going to be volatile as shit. There're going to be a lot of coin flip games that you just have to accept as that's what the result's going to be is a coin flip. Period. That's going to
Yes.
happen to you. Hopefully you get lucky and you win those coin flips. If you don't, you have to keep your mental strong and honed. And if you don't have strong honed mental, you're going to have to do something to take a mental break, reset, come back. Even if it's just 20, 30 minutes to get reset. Like
Yeah.
but take that time because it's better to take a game off, do something else, decompress, then come back than it is to try to force a win. Because
Right.
I'll tell you this, a win does not cure a bad loss.
It doesn't, which is a like that's such a good point that I don't think I've ever talked about, but is so fucking true. That just because you get a win in the middle of a quote unquote losing streak, it doesn't A mean that the streak is over and doesn't B mean that your mental is fixed, especially if you got carried, which is what
Mm-hmm.
happens most of the time is you get lucky and win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you like fucking reach inside and find your mental fortitude
it's
and
like
then
it's like
dominate.
climbing up an ice-covered hill, right? Like yes, you won, you made it to the top of the hill, but at the top, the hill is still covered in fucking ice, and it's super easy to slide all the way back down to the bottom
True.
because the hill is covered in fucking ice, and that's your inner tilt, right? Like you have to let that shit thaw, and winning the game just doesn't do that,
No.
right? So
It takes
regardless,
time to thaw the. See, this metaphor was even smarter than you thought.
yeah, yeah. I always do 2 to 3 level Panama Canal icy hill metaphors that
The
just
Panama Canal. I hope that's a new Lola classic.
it is. I have
Up
never
there
come
with
up with that one before. That was
corn.
up there with with corn and falcon fucking. It's
Yes,
all meshed
connected.
together, in this weird.
I voted for corn in the recent election.
That's good. Two of my friends wrote me in as a Senate seat in Berry County. They thought it would be hilarious to write me in.
Did
I
they
didn't ask
really?
them. Yeah, I didn't ask them to do
Oh
that.
god,
So I received 2 votes from Missouri Senate this year.
that's a precursor to you actually
Yeah.
being in the Missouri Senate.
Right, right. I have to make at least 2 votes. So I made as
Hey,
much
the
as
second
like
you ever try to run for public office,
I'm
this
gonna
podcast
this
is
podcast
going to
will
destroy
cease to exist because I will delete the
that.
RSS feed so that my enemies cannot use it against me.
What could they
Uh,
use against you then?
anything that I've ever said. I'm sure
No,
there's tons of terrible snippets in this
no.
podcast. Well, like the time
Just as
that I
long as you don't talk
referred
about
to,
LMQ, I
yeah,
mean, I
the
think you're
time I
fine.
referred to Chinese people as the chink in the armor of LMQ, and then I was like, oh God, and then Ernie and Sam jumped on me for that, that was an innocent colloquialism that ended up also having like racial
I
undertones
think it
by
was more of a
accident.
Freudian slip, but whatever.
Well, regardless, like I was like, yeah, the chink in the armor of L and Q, and they're like, oh shit, let's back that up. Didn't
LMQ
mean
was
that.
the Chinese team that played in the LCS like six
Yeah,
years ago, by the way.
yeah. And literally, I was talking about their weakness and not about them as individuals, but whatever. That would be the best out of context thing you could use to skewer me. Of
I
course, in
know.
Missouri, that wouldn't really matter because.
That would probably be seen as a plus. I
Yeah,
mean, let's
everybody's
be
like
real.
overwhelmingly white here. They'd be like, he gets it. They're like, no, no, I don't get it. Don't say that. They're like, oh no, he's got it. Everybody's white. Yeah. So, but no, fuck. Like, you know, regardless, like these are the things that you need to do to focus on end of season wins. You need to focus on your mental, accept the losses that are going to come to you as coin flips, and also accept your like the coin flipped wins as equal and opposite force on that. You need to
Yes.
make sure you're playing at your absolute best, no matter what. Don't fall victim to the tilt spiral. Dodge when necessary. Don't dodge when it's not. Like there are things you dodge for and things you don't. Those are the 2 most meaningful pieces of advice that I can give you. Good luck is the third. Like luck will play a huge factor in whether or not you climb.
When you're climbing at the end of the season, yes, it does.
So I mean, because
You're playing.
this is not the time to meaningfully improve your game.
No.
This is the time to jam out games and hope to God you win the dice roll. Right? Like
Yep.
roll your D20. Good luck. Yeah. All right. With that, We have gone an hour and a half, which is more than I anticipated. We can never record just an hour podcast, you and me.
I know.
The
We're
last
pretty
one was a
bad.
double episode. This time they get episode and a half. Congratulations, listeners, for the bonus content. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Oh, by the way, Patreon. I'm finally working on Patreon to be able to log back into our Patreon account. They've locked me out due to email error of some variety or another. But our Patreon is back at a dangerously low level. So, listeners, I am once again asking for your support.
Come on, you're not
Please,
even doing the Bernie voice.
listeners, I'm once again asking you for your support. That's the best Bernie I can do.
It's not terrible.
It's not, I
I've
mean,
heard worse.
I need to listen to Bernie talk. It's been too many months since.
His voice is much deeper.
Yeah, you're right. I need to add more to that.
He also
Listeners,
says humans instead of humans, which I like.
humans. Yeah.
Humans.
So I am once again asking for your support. I
You're doing kind of
need.
a JFK thing.
Yeah, that was
That
a
was
really fucked
JFK.
up. That was JFK. Anyway, I, Wise Papa Smurf, am asking for your support. Please help us out. Like the amount of money that the podcast is taking in is not significant at the moment. We are in the like danger area of paying for shit, and I don't want to pay for shit. So
He doesn't. It's true. He's famously
please,
cheap.
please help me out, so that way I don't have to throw money back into the podcast again to keep it going. It's one thing to devote my time. It's another thing to devote my time and pay for my own project. Like, help, please. Like, we don't charge anything for the show. Even if you paid $1 an episode, which is like $4 a month, that would be incredibly helpful. If everybody did that. Like,
Are
oh
you
my
saying this
god.
fantastic advice isn't worth $1, people? Come on.
Yeah, come on. You enjoyed
We
this. You
talk about
enjoyed it.
Falcon fucking.
You were talking about Falcon fucking for like an entire episode. That was worth at least the price of a 20 ounce at the gas station. I mean, those are like $1.40 now. You're telling me that this show is not worth a 20 ounce? Like, fuck, it's been 90 minutes. That's
I
like
know.
a cent a minute. For the price of a bowl of soup, you too can feed a Lola podcaster. You know? Like,
I'm in Blake's basement right now, and he's not giving me anything to
you
eat.
do actually, like, your room has gotten much more depressing, by the way, on the
It's
webcam. I
always
don't know
been
if
like
you.
so. You're just okay. So
Maybe I'm
you know
just
what?
noticing it for the first time,
So
but
what
it's
you're noticing?
sad. You have a
Okay, well,
bundled up mattress behind you?
it's actually two match. So here's the thing. Like,
Is that a Murphy bed or are you just living in squalor?
no, I sleep. Okay, I have a one of those like Japanese floor mats, and I sleep like on that on the floor because I like it. I live an alternative lifestyle, but there's no other place to put. So this used to be a bed frame with like the mattress on it, but now I use it as like storage for like my TVs and stuff for like my games,
Mm-hmm.
and the mattress has nowhere else to go, and my parents don't want to get rid of it. So now the mattress is just like in my room, propped up against the bed, and my cat likes to go stand and like sit and watch me on top of it. So, and that's why it looks like I live in Blake's basement.
Sweet. He
But
doesn't, though.
I don't.
So, regardless, I was actually able to log into Patreon again. I had to talk to their tech support. Apparently, we had been blacklisted. Our email had been blacklisted by Patreon.
What'd
I
you
don't.
do, Blake?
I had nothing. I just tried to log in, but now I can again. So that's cool. But I wanted to do a shout out to a Patreon. So let's pick one. Give me a number, Ponderous, between like 1 and I don't know, like 10 or something.
Four.
1, 2, 3, 4. Stephen Holds. Stephen Holden. Thank you, Stephen, for your support of the podcast.
We
I
appreciate you,
appreciate you.
Steven. You're
You are
good.
the man. This episode goes out to Stephen. Stay handsome, Stephen. Handsome and charming like you are.
We know you are.
We know you. You have to be. $5 a month?
To
You're
be a
right. You're
Lola
right what I'm talking about, man.
patron,
That's 99 cents an episode. Maybe a little of change. You give us a tip. We appreciate it. So we're giving you a shout out. Everybody be as cool, handsome, and charming as Steven. because he's up to his balls and bitches. He's probably getting his bitches to pay his money because
Probably.
he's
He's
like,
smart.
yeah, he's running it. You
He's an
know,
entrepreneurial type. You
yeah,
can
dude's
tell.
like the Axe body spray of listeners that we have around here. They just magnet to
I want it next time we
vaginas.
do a patrons shout out. I want to go the opposite direction and talk about how I think they sound like an axe murderer. I think
That
that would be
sounds
funny.
good. We'll do that next
I think
time.
our listeners would appreciate that.
Okay, give me another
Well, not you,
number.
Steven. You
give
wouldn't
me
appreciate
give
it.
me another number between 1 and
Okay,
20.
let's do 8.
Okay, 6, 7, 8. Oh, this does kind of. Dr. Nolly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
All
sure.
right.
Dr. Nolly. Yeah, we know.
Dr. Nolly is sus.
I feel
I,
like, do you have cutouts of all of our faces and you've like put X's over the eyes? Have you done that,
there's like a
Dr. Nolly?
there's like a picture of screen caps from YouTube with like yarn interconnecting it with
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
like pins in it. It's like yeah, like
Did
a
you
plan
kill
of.
Ernie? Did you,
No,
Dr. Nolly?
I talked to Ernie tonight. He made it.
Are you sure? Are
So
you sure it wasn't just him impersonating him? Could
no,
have been.
but thank you for your financial support, and please don't axe murder us.
Please don't.
So anyway, thanks guys. We really appreciate you. Uh, Anybody else that wants to join the ranks of our podcast supporters, just go to patreon.com/Lola podcast. People have asked me, like, how do I make just a one time donation? If you're going to make a one time donation, PayPal is the best way to do that because then we get the whole thing
You
versus
just
Patreon.
yeah, and the one that you use is at Ponderous Sea Lion on PayPal. You just send money that way. It'll go straight to the
You really
podcast.
don't. Just hit me up on Discord. I'll give you the PayPal information so you can make a one-time donation if that's something that you want to do. And keep in mind, you don't have to. We're still going to be free. I just really appreciate financial support because I already have a hard enough time justifying the amount of time I spend on the podcast to my wife, and I definitely don't want to justify expenditures. So please keep my credit card statement clean so I don't have to explain what I do and why. So thank you, listeners. I appreciate you. Peace out. Have a great day. Good night, everybody.